I really like to take risk in my life. I don't think it twice. He was like, you can be my assistant for a couple months and then you start getting to know the business. I was like, nope, I'm going to take the class and I'm going to pass it and I'm going to be a loan officer.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then he was like, it's going to be hard. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready. He started crying.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm so happy. I can't believe this is like real. I can't believe I have the keys of the house. And he went to the bank, he got the check. But it's a really nice feeling because he was so scared at the beginning.
Yeah.
This business
Yeah.
is super easy to compare because of social media
Yeah.
and numbers and look at this person and look at that guy. And, you know, I should be doing more and more and more. And I feel like I am still working on being more patient.
Okay, so here we are, another episode of the Rate of Success podcast, and I am super excited because we have another loan officer. So we've had two in a row here. So Sophia and Jodie, who just joined our branch, is here with us. So Sophia, why don't you tell them a little bit about how long you've been in the business and kind of what your path was to get here?
Thank you, Eric, for having me.
Absolutely.
I've been in the business for 2 years. I got licensed in November of 2022. I remember when I got my license, they were like, oh my God, you missed the year. Because I think in COVID, it was like the year to be a loan officer, right? But I mean, here I am.
Yeah. Well, and so and maybe that was a good thing because I think a lot of people get in this business during COVID. And even for us that have been in the business for a while, and then you experience COVID, you kind of get some bad habits from COVID that don't translate well to the market that we're in. So what drew you to the mortgage business? What were you doing before that and how? Because as we always say in this podcast and why we always ask this is that nobody ever plans to be in the mortgage business. We all end up here by mistake. We don't go to school and we don't take a class that says I want to be a loan officer when we get older. We all kind of end up here by mistake. So what was that path to get to the mortgage business?
So I was in college and I was doing insurance. I was doing the same thing. I went to a networking event because I was trying to recruit loan officers. And I met these realtors and they were like, yeah, I'm going to help you. And then I'm going to send you business. But honestly, I think you're wasting your time. I think you'll be a great loan officer and I'm going to help you and I'm going to introduce you. And he introduced me to a couple of people and I met this really good loan officer and he was like, yeah, I'm going to help you.
So getting in there, had you done anything with mortgages before? Had you purchased a property? Had you done anything or was it truly just getting, obviously you were in the insurance business, so you had somewhat of an idea. But was that your first exposure to the mortgage business?
Yes.
So what was that like? Because that's a big leap of faith.
Yes.
And, it's not like we're salaried. We're 100% commission. So what was that? And again, I always like touching on this because I don't think people realize what it's like to get started in the mortgage business. It's truly is, you got to bet on yourself. And there's more people in our business that don't make it than do. But there's always something that's specific about the people that make it, which you obviously have, that we have this like drive or this no fear to be able to say, I'm going to take a job where I have no income, no clients. And then, so did you think about it at all? Or was it just something that I'm going to do this and you never look back?
I really like to take risk in my life.
Yeah.
I don't think it twice. He was like, you can be my assistant for a couple months and then you start getting, to know the business. I was like, nope, I'm going to take the class and I'm going to pass it and I'm going to be a loan officer.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then he was like, it's going to be hard. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Well, I've had the pleasure to know you for a little bit, mostly, the outside, looking in. And we can get to that in a moment. So you get into business and, I always love touching on this, but like, did you have the support of your family and stuff? Because we always talk about family and how much they play a role in the things that we do because we are not always available. It's a lot of sacrifice. And you do need a lot of people around you that believe not only if you take a risk, sometimes our family has to kind of buy into that as well because, not necessarily they're taking a risk as well, but that we need their support as well. So was that a conversation that you had to have with your family or how was that? Have you always had the support of your family through this?
So I think my family is really, we came from a background where my parents we're Colombians, right? Yep. And my parents they moved here like 8 years ago with me.
Okay.
So their culture is really, really strong. And for them to understand this kind of job, it's really hard for them because usually you need a degree in Colombia. You need to be in a bank for years to be able to do what we do, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the same. So for them, it was like, Sophia, get a real job. You know, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And like, I used to go to a lot of networking events, and my mom used to get really mad at me. She's like, you're just there to party. I know you're not working.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I am working.
Yeah.
Like, this is for something. And it's hard for them to understand because, like I said, coming from another country is just a totally different world.
Yeah, no, I mean, I give you all the credit in the world because I can totally see, and it's hard. I mean, even for me, like when I told my wife that I was going to get into the mortgage business and I was going to do something that was 100% commission, like it is like, why would you want to do that? You know, it's hard. But now that you're in it and you've gotten to where you are today, are they starting to come around a little bit to kind of understand what you do?
So I remember one day my dad was like, Sophia, I really want to see your office.
Yeah.
Because I do want to see like if it's real. I'm like, Dad, it is real, but I don't have time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have the time for you to come to the office because I'm always like either on the phone or have an appointment or, you know, I'm doing something. So he was like, okay, fine, just take a picture and then, you know, show me the real office.
Let's make it a point that we are going to have your mom and dad to the office. Okay.
Okay.
And we will have them sit down with us and we can show them that it's real and how great of a job you've done, you know, kind of coming in and hitting the ground running. Because I think it's important that they see, you know, everything that you've done because it is a big deal.
Yeah. And I think at one point they will see it.
Yeah.
I remember when I purchased my first unit or my property, my dad, he was like, how are you going to pay for this?
So how old were you when you purchased your first property?
I was 25.
So
24, actually.
So I talk about this all the time, and I love that because we were talking to Fabian as well, and he was talking about he bought his first property. And I love talking about this because the average first-time homebuyer age right now is 38, okay? Wow. That was last year. So average first-time homebuyer last year was 38. 10 years ago, it was 28.
Wow.
Okay? So, you know, 1995 to 2025, okay? So, you know, just think about that. So it's moving higher and higher. And there's a lot of reasons why, okay? So for you to say that you purchased at 25, what was that experience like? And how has that helped you moving forward be more, you know, helpful to your clients and walking through first-time home buyers? Is that something you lean on a lot when you talk to buyers?
Yes. I remember when I was purchasing the multi-unit, it was really scary, even though I knew like, okay, I know what's the next step, right?
Yeah.
Appraisal is next, you know?
Yeah.
It was really scary because of the, what am I going to do after, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I get the keys today. I mean, do I have a tenant? What am I going to do? Like my furniture, am I going to move? You know, it's a lot of questions, right? And I feel like that's what I say, you know, when I feel like they're scared, I'm like, I've been there, you know, it's okay. Do you have a plan? You know, so they can talk it out and be like, okay, yeah, Sophia, I'm scared because of this, or I'm concerned because of that. I'm like, okay, I understand. And it's fine to have those feelings, you know?
Yeah.
So it helped me a lot.
And what better, you know, we've talked about this before, but what better person to help someone else buy a home or to buy a rental property than someone who's done it themselves? You know, there's a lot of people in our industry that, you know, do social media reels and they've never done it themselves. True. And it's very different. So I'll tell you a quick story. So I have been in the business for about 10, 15 years and I bought and sold a house. Okay. And I do this every single day. And I was like the worst client that like everything that you would not like about a client, that was me. Okay. And it's so different being on the other side of it because when you're emotionally attached to stuff and you're putting out the risk versus, you know, we do it every single day and I can help 20, 30 people buy a home every single month and I don't think about it. But when it's your own, it definitely takes on. And I always draw on that experience because it really has helped me appreciate more the, you know, the experience, you know, and explaining things more and doing that because something that we do every single day when someone else does it and just putting yourself through that, sometimes you can really draw on that to completely transform your business and help people better. So it is interesting.
Yeah.
So what would you say, you know, you've learned? So you're 2 years in the business. What do you think, is there anything you would say to Sophia today that you wish you would have known a couple of years ago that you kind of maybe were a little bit stubborn on as you went through the beginning part of your career? Because we're all kind of a little stubborn at times in the beginning part of our career, even me today. And there's always times when I look back and I was like, God, I just wish I would have not done this. Did you have anything that you kind of think about a lot that you wish you would have, done differently?
I think it's not just me. I think everybody, we're really hard on ourselves. Right? Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I should do better. I don't know. Like in the past, I used to be really hard on myself and compare a lot. And this business is super easy to compare because of social media and numbers, and look at this person and look at that guy. And, I should be doing more and more and more. And I feel like I am still working on being more patient. Yeah. And it's going to be how it needs to be and how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, it's good to be there's something to be said, and you can find a way to embrace this a little bit, but there's something to be said about being impatient or comparing or do whatever. And I always said, like, if you aren't that way, like, you're not going to be as successful as you want to be. Like, you just have to learn to be aware of it and not let it affect the way you treat other people or anything like that. But you have to have somewhat of a sickness a little bit where you have this great month, okay, and then this moment it's over, like, we go back to zero, like and that's takes a very special mindset. And like, I've always had this thing where, like, I'm never happy, and it's probably my biggest strength, but it's also my biggest weakness, because that's what keeps you driving and working harder and helping more people and having a bigger impact on other people. But at the same time, it can also prevent you from enjoying your success and doing things. So you got to find that way to harness that a little bit, but don't be afraid of that feeling, because it's actually something that can be, because not everyone has it. And the fact that you brought it up, I love it, because that tells me a lot about where your business is going to go, because you have to have a bit of that. You have to be hard on yourself. You have to be, but learning to take that criticism and that experiences and everything and learn from it and be better, that's what's going to make you extremely successful. So don't try to push that away somewhere. Like, that's actually a really good quality to have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you've been in the business for 2 years. So what would you say kind of is like because I see you, in our short time working together, you're always on the go. Like, every time I talk to you, like, you're going to this meeting, you're meeting with these clients, like, you have this kind of no fear attitude where you want to really just kind of be out there and meeting people. And when you come into my office, you will have these great plans and you want to do things and like that, like, so where did that drive come from?
I want to see something. Yesterday, it was a storm.
The
snowstorm. And this realtor called me. She's like, hey, I have a client for you. I'm like, yeah, great. I'm going to call right now. Send me the phone number. And she's like, so what are you doing today? Are you staying at home? And I was like, yeah, I'm staying at home. But I have a consultation later. And she's like, wait, what time? I was like, 5. She's like, so is it going to be through Zoom? And I'm like, no, I'm driving to their house. Yeah. And she's like, you're driving to their house? I'm like, yeah, because they can't drive. I know I'm okay. It's fine. Yeah. And she was like, so you usually go to their houses? I'm like, if they have to, I'm going to. Yeah. And she was just super surprised. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Well, I love that. And I think that is something that says a lot about not just your drive and who you are, but the experience that you want to give to those clients. And our business has gotten very, everything's online, and we're, with social media and all this stuff. And, not every client wants to meet, but the fact that you're willing to do that, I think says a lot about who you are, but it also provides the people that you work with the trust and the ability to really leverage you as a resource. Because, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is that when you get an application over the phone, okay, versus when you meet face to face, there's a very big difference in the relationships that you build when you go to someone's house. Because typically, the only person that typically goes to someone's house nowadays is a listing agent, when they list the house. And I remember back in the day, I would always go I had a couple listing agents where they would do the listing presentation, then I would show up at the house after she was done, and then we would meet together. And it was some of the best relationships I've developed with my clients over the years. And I always found our process was always so much more, it just ran so much better. We didn't have a lot of issues because we had that time face to face. They were comfortable because they were in their own home. when they come to meet us, then they're on our world and they don't feel as comfortable. Yeah. When someone's in their own home, they feel very comfortable. So how often are you meeting face-to-face with clients? It doesn't have to be at their house, but in a realtor office. And how often are you doing that over the phone? Is there like a focus on that, or is there anything that you're trying to get face-to-face?
I do. I like to be face-to-face so I can understand, because sometimes on the phone, they're going to tell you, I don't really care about the down payment.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the payment.
Yeah.
But when you see them and you get more information, I have a dog. And now you're thinking, okay, they want a big yard. So it means it's a lot of information you can get whenever you're face-to-face, but it all depends on the client, right?
Yeah,
because I know there's some people that can be really busy and that they don't have the time.
Yeah.
So it's okay. We can go over the phone, or we can do Zoom, or, I'm really open to whatever. I did have a couple leads from social media. They want to meet somewhere and they were kind of far. So I do try to be like in a public place because
absolutely.
Of course, safety. Yeah. But I do Starbucks, I did Dunkin' Donuts, phone, Zoom, anything, honestly.
Yeah. When you got in this business, did you appreciate or understand at that time like how demanding and difficult it is to build a business, especially going over the last couple of years? Like, have you thought a lot about, like, was there ever a moment that you were like, wow, this is a lot different than I thought? Or did you go into it knowing kind of what to expect?
I don't think you know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's hard to, right?
It's hard.
Yeah.
I think this is a lifestyle.
I like that. And is there a part of you that, really enjoys the fact how difficult it is? And I ask that because, again, it's kind of the sickness of what we do. Like, it's when we network and we're around other people, like there's always the people that will network and they'll complain about the industry. And then there's another group where they're like, almost like energized by, well, the rates are higher and this is but I'm doing like, they really get excited with those challenges. And you strike me as someone that, as much as we've spoken, I've never really heard you complain about the market. Like, you're always talking about how you want to be successful, how you want to, one of the first conversations we had, I had said to you, which we just had a meeting all about it, but I told you that you got to think bigger.
Yes.
Because you had given me some thoughts about, and just, for everyone, like, so Sophia and I met in a very unique circumstance. So we were both competing in a real estate office and a marketing agreement. And Sophia worked for another company, and then I worked obviously at Rate. And we would see each other, from time to time. And I finally reached out to you and I was like, hey, why don't we get together? Probably be a good idea. And I used to work with builders. And when we had other lenders, at the end of the day, like, it was our job to serve the account, and really our, kind of, feelings didn't matter, that it was the account that mattered. So I figured, let's get Sophia and, together, and we would talk and we would kind of go through and figure out what we could do to, help each other out and be successful. And it's always good to network with other, loan officers. And I have to say, like, the moment that we met and we started talking, like, my initial instinct was like, wow, I can really help Sophia. I just felt like it was, so we met under a little bit unique circumstances. And then, somehow I convinced you to come work with us. So what was that like? Because obviously you don't know, why does he want to talk? So what was that like, going from that meeting until where you are sitting today? Has it been somewhat of a whirlwind, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think someone asked me, why will you go? Right? Yeah. I mean, what's the point? But I think I can learn something from everybody, And I was like, I'm going to learn something from this guy, I'm going to get something. Either how is he so successful in, your career? And I remember my impression was like, this guy is really nice, actually you're nice.
See?
I think it was more like, sometimes we see people like over here and then you will think like, oh, this guy was never going to talk to me, or like, this person is too busy to probably give me an advice or something, right? But you were super open regarding your business and regarding what you do. I really like that, because I want to say that I met some people in this business that they're really they don't want to share.
Yeah, they're guarded. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more like, what did you do? Oh, it's my strategy, you know, or how did you get there? Oh, you know, you're going to have to do it yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I did not get that from you.
I'll just say this too, like a lot of that culture, which you've probably seen a little bit, is it's really not mine. It's kind of what I've learned being here is like, you know, Shant, number one loan officer, shares everything. So we feel like our job is to share because we hope at some point that you'll share those same things to someone that you bring on, because that's what our industry really should be. And for some reason, my first 15 years in the business, I experienced the same thing you did. I was very closed off, minded my own business, had my head down, didn't want to share anything with anyone, and nobody wanted to share anything with me. And I kind of wasted a lot of time. I had to learn the hard way, as they say, you know. I always joke with like Tom or others in the office is because like they learned in 5 years what took me 15 years to figure out the hard way. And for me, when I met with you, like I love meeting young, like hungry loan officers because it makes me appreciate like the business again. Because the analogy I gave someone before is, you know, the first time I ever took my son to Disney World, okay, I went like 4 years before me and Jen went, and I was like, this place is horrible, happiest place on earth. This was before we had Jake, okay?
Okay.
And then we took Jake, and it was like seeing it through his eyes and like having him experience it, like that's what you enjoyed. And it's very similar watching a newer loan officer like enjoy parts of the business that we take for granted and go to networking meetings and, you know, go to someone's house and do a consultation.
Yeah.
Like do that, because then for me, it reminds me that like, man, I got to get my shit together and I got to really, you know, it pushes me. Like, you know, you may feel like you get a lot from me in these particular situations, but I take way more being around you and Fabian and Tom and everyone else in the office. And people ask me all the time, like, Eric, why do you spend so much time like mentoring you know, other loan officers? And again, I get way more out of it than anything I'm giving you because I see how hard all of you are working, and it makes me want to, you know, like contribute more and really, you know, gives me a drive. So what has been probably the biggest surprise now that you're here, okay? You've been in the business for a while and you've had a chance to spend some time in the office. Is there anything that's kind of surprised you, you know, coming in and kind of that you didn't expect?
Yes. One of the things that I think has been really good because I've been able to focus more on my leads and my, you know, calling past clients, calling new realtors, calling new clients, calling like my family, be like, hey, you know, remember I'm working in here, you know?
Yeah.
It's because I don't have to be babysitting my files.
Yeah.
I think for us or for me, my files are my babies because I don't have a baby.
Yeah,
so they're my
exactly.
babies. And it's really hard for me to trust, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's the contract, here's, you know, all the paperwork. Please, you know, like, please close it. I feel like I didn't have to do this in here.
Yeah.
I have a closing on Friday and it was a really good experience. I called the client, I called the realtors, and everybody was happy. You know, no complaints.
Does that, and not to interrupt you, but does that, when you are removed from the file, okay, and realtor has a good experience, client has a good experience, does it make more sense, all the conversations that we had prior, when you finally had experienced it versus me just telling you, like kind of how that was? Were you still like in the background, like, was it hard for you not to get involved in certain things, or were you able to truly kind of unplug?
I thought it was going to be hard, but I was able to look at all the notes were there.
Yeah.
Your team is great because they will put every day a different note.
Yeah.
It's not like I check on Monday and I'm going to check again on Friday. It's still the same thing, right? Then I'm going to get upset. Well, not upset, but maybe worry. Right? Like, what's going on? Where's my file at, right? But I feel like every day there was something, I don't know, like a new update. So I will feel comfortable they're working on my, you know, on my loan. And it gave me so much time, like I said, to work on my past clients and new leads. The way I work with one of my realtors, we have a share file with the leads that he already gave me.
Yeah.
And I was calling, you know, leads from the past. Hey, you know, I remember you were, you know, looking at one point, what happened? And she's like, well, the realtor was supposed to send me houses and he stopped. So I don't know. I'm like, don't worry.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
you, you know?
yeah.
So I called the realtor. I'm like, hey, you know, I've been calling. And he's like, oh my God, so you've been calling my leads? I'm like, yes, we're a work team, you know, it's
Yeah.
a teamwork, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to call this person now. And then, you know, we start working the lead again.
Yeah.
But maybe if I didn't have the time, I wouldn't call this person. And
So does it make, because I remember one of the conversations that we had, there was like this, when I told you to think bigger, the conversation was really about, you had said you wanted to do this. And I was like, well, I think you can do more. And I
Yes.
think you were like, and I told you to think bigger. And I think there was this like hesitation because you were thinking of it in the world you were in, where now that you're here and you kind of see, does it make more sense on how you can do more and scale your business and continue to provide even better experience? Like, is it starting to kind of like
making sense.
make sense a little bit? Yeah. And
for
that's,
sure.
that's kind of the thing where I think even for me coming here, you know, I came from a bank and, you know, I was happy but it took me, I obviously didn't have the team that I have now. So it took me a while to kind of piece that together. But I think that's the one thing where, you know, you don't have to sacrifice like your life, your client communication. You can still have all that, but then you can also then, you know, obviously contact more people, help more families, have more conversations, because nowadays we need to have a lot more conversations. It's not like people are calling us and being like, hey, rates are 3%. I want to buy a house. We're having to have a lot more, you know, conversations. What do you think on that? What has been the biggest struggle that you've seen from a lot of your buyers right now? Obviously, interest rates. Is there anything like that's really stuck out where a lot of people are still on the fence about?
Yes, I work a lot with the Hispanic market.
Yeah.
And some people are kind of scared because of the, you know, new precedent. They are kind of scared of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, the media doesn't help.
Yeah.
Right. Because you see videos on TikTok, on social media. Oh my God, you know, like this is happening and everybody gets so scared and no one is like doing anything because what if, right? What I tell my clients or the people that tells me that they want to wait, it's more like, I mean, the media is doing this on purpose so they can get more views, so they can get more sponsorships, what means money, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is going to happen. I feel like in a couple weeks, everything is going to go back to normal.
Yeah.
Explaining that to them, maybe going over what we can do here. For example, we do have a list of documents. Let's say they have a visa or they have some type of documents. We can work with that.
Yeah.
And some people don't know that.
So do you find your biggest opportunity, obviously in having conversations and handling those objections are obviously very valid and very real. Even in I'm getting the same objections as well. But do you find that education is the piece that they'll respond to the most as far as what they need to do to purchase, how much they need down, what they qualify for? Because again, I think, and I've been saying this for years now, but we don't get to an average age of first-time home buyers of 38 because people know and understand how to buy a house. I've been doing a lot of social media on this, but you know, people know the how to do it, but they don't know the why. Like, why should I buy a house when interest rates are 7%? Why should I buy a house when home prices are at an all-time high? Why are home prices not going to go down? Like, as far as the steps to buy a house, okay, a lot of those are they're out there and you can watch YouTube videos and everything else. I think the opportunity for people like us is really the why. And I don't know how you feel about that or if that like makes sense to you, but like I feel like that's the opportunity for us right now because, you know, why do you want to buy now and not wait? You know, why is if I wait, why do I want to rent versus buy? Like it's like the why is more the question that I feel like we need to ask. If you scroll through social media, it's a lot of the how. Like, you know, you apply here and then you fill this application out and then we're like, it's all that, which we all do the same stuff. The why I feel like is the piece that if we spend a little bit more time on, because I feel like a lot of the clients, you know, they want to buy. They don't want to buy at the high and then lose money. They're afraid of something down the line. They're afraid of, you know, something to do with, you know, the current status of the country and things like that. And if we get more to the why and really help people through that, I think it can be a huge opportunity. I also feel like if you can really do a good campaign and help more families understand the why, they're going to refer a ton of business to you because every stat shows that people want to purchase. I feel like they're just struggling with how to get it going. So do you find a lot of your client consultations, you're talking about the same stuff, or is it a lot of different things that the clients are struggling with as far as moving forward?
I think I did have a couple conversations with some clients regarding my friend told me this.
Oh,
At work, they
yeah.
told me this. Or my uncle who bought a property
10 years
10
ago.
years ago got it for 3%.
Yeah.
And it's a hard conversation because we're not in the same market.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain to them that I'm not telling you this so you can buy it. I'm telling you the truth, right?
Yeah.
If you're ready right now, then you will be ready, right? But I think some people are scared of like, oh, but my friend told me they lost their house. My friend told me that, this and this and that. And I have to educate them again.
Yeah.
Like,
do you find yourself, because I always say this, is like my job is not to convince someone to buy a home. It's to give them the information to make an informed decision. And sometimes that decision is not to buy. But what we don't want them to do is wait because they think something their uncle said that purchased 10 years ago is fact. And then 3 years later, they call you and when you pre-approve them and they're going to go, Sophia, oh my God, if I would have known this previously, I would have bought before. Because that's what I get a lot is when I go through our process and we go through everything, it's always the same comment like, oh, I wish I would have done this sooner. And the thing that I always say is like, think about the appreciation that you're going to. So you bought your first house at 25, okay? How much is that home going to be worth at 38 when some people are buying their first property? Like, think about that. Like, that's time in the market that you can never make up. And someone like yourself will have so much more, of a equity in the house, and you can't make that up. Like, you're never going to be able to, if you buy 38 versus 25, you can't make that up. So I think people need to understand that, and that's where I was kind of getting at the why. Now, do you feel like people in that 20 to 28-year-old range are starting to buy at a bigger pace, or where do you see most of your first-time home buyers at?
I think for me it's a mix because I speak Spanish, so I'm able to help older, generations too. But I can relate to new generations.
So on the older generation, real quick, a lot of them downsizing, or a lot of them buying their first home, or first home. So that's kind of life-changing for someone when you're helping someone, an older generation, buy their first home, who's probably rented their whole life, and then here you're able to come in, help them. What's that been like to be able to help? That's got to be pretty awesome. I know I enjoy that when someone says like, no one in my family has ever owned a home, and they're buying. I just helped someone, they were in their 50s and they were buying their first home, and no one in their family had ever owned a home. And it's pretty amazing when you can help someone do that.
Yes. I remember I had these buyers. They came to me because 3 other banks, they're like, I'm sorry, we can't do your loan, right? And I remember like, it was like the day after the closing. I told him, you need to bring a check of this, amount. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, we're clear to close, congratulations, we're done. And he's like, but like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I will see you tomorrow at this location. Just come. Yeah. Bring the check, please. He did not bring the check because he was so like he thought he couldn't buy.
Yeah.
At the day of the closing, he still thought he couldn't buy. Like he was like, he started crying. Yeah. And he's like, I'm so happy. I can't believe this is like real. I can't believe I have the keys of the house. And he went to the bank. He got the check. But it's a really nice feeling because he was so scared at the beginning. Yeah. And I called him a couple of weeks ago. I was like, hey, how's it going with the house? He was so happy they have a baby. So he was telling me it was the first winter with the baby and the house, and they were like playing in the snow and stuff. So
doesn't that give you like kind of the purpose of, I think we lose sight of what we do every single day. Like we kind of forget the impact that we have because this business, you can be very transactional. You can kind of lose sight of the big picture. But when you have a conversation like that and you can help someone who was denied 3 times, I always say like some of my best lead sources of past clients, believe it or not, are people I actually never did a loan for, or someone like that where they were denied and you were able to do. But I have 2 clients that come to mind all the time. I tell the story is like, I never did a loan for them, but I spent like a year with them, like helping them try to buy a home, and they, made some bad decisions. But the fact that I was helping them and I was available to them and showed them the time, everyone that this lady talks to, like, she refers me out. Like, they always call me, and like, they have this, like, she refers me better than a lot of my realtors do. And I always call her, and one of these days we're going to get her a house. She just, she's been sick, and so I always, there's a value in what we do to help when you care. And I think that's something that makes you very different, is that means something to you. There's a lot of us in this business that get difficult deals that wouldn't take the time to help someone that's been denied 3 times. There's plenty of times when people get an application and you're like, oh no, this person can't buy. But then there's other people that will take it and see something and say, you know what, I'm going to work on this and I'm going to get this. And that is what makes a good loan officer a great loan officer. And I've seen, your determination and how you want to get things done. And I think, as I told you before, like, thinking bigger, like, I truly believe like this is going to be life-changing for you, not because of my team or anything I'm going to do. I just feel like I always say it's getting the right people in the right seat to be able to be successful. And I feel like you're the right person. You're in the right situation. So on that, you're here. You've kind of experienced, the team. You've experienced, kind of the process that we have and kind of how we do things. What do you feel like the next 1 year, 6 months, has that changed? Like, what you are shooting for, what you're thinking about? Have you thought, because I know because your mind's always going. So yes. Like, how much is now that you're here and situated, like, how much is that changing kind of what you think the next 1 or 3 years is going to look like for you?
I feel like because I have more time in my hands, I've been planning more events. And not just for realtors, but also for clients. And
you want to share your event? Because I think it's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing a yoga and meditation event for realtors. And I got a couple friends of mine. They're like, I do want to go too. I'm like, okay, it's open. It's fine. It doesn't have to be just realtors. And it was funny because I told her, like, you can come. She's really into yoga and meditation. And she was like, wait, is this free? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and she was like, do I have to bring food? I'm like, no, it's free. Just come. And she's like, but like nothing? I'm like, no, it's free. And she's like, I'm going to give you a couple of referrals. I'm like, okay, you can pay me with that. And there you go.
So did you ever think before coming here that you would be doing a yoga and meditation event? And like, so is kind of like seeing some of the other events that people do and kind of how we approach things, and like, has that been kind of eye-opening to kind of give you a different perspective of the business?
Yes. And I also feel like I do a lot of social media, or I try to. Some people think I'm a realtor because I share a lot of information.
Yeah.
And they come to me first and they're like, I know you're a realtor. Can you find me a house? I'm like, well, I'm not a realtor, but I'm your first step. You should come to a lender first to get a plan, right? And some people go to the realtor first because they think that's the first step.
Absolutely.
And it's not, right? Yeah. So I think I want to get more content. I want to talk to more people and let them know we are the first step, basically, right? They have to come to us first to know how much you're going to get pre-approved for. Do we have to work on your credit? Understand more the down payment, the cash to close, right?
I think you can provide more value to the realtor when all that's done up front, because I feel like when that's all done up front, you can make their time more valuable by not wasting their time, because you're doing all the work up front for them. And when you have those relationships with realtor partners and they understand that and you trust each other, it can be a game changer for both of you. A lot of times we're kind of working against each other because we're both trying to be, the first step. But when you realize that doesn't really matter and you're going to help them close more deals, it can be a big deal.
Yes. I will also say that some of my clients or some people come to me and I'm like, okay, we can, the first step will be this and this and that. And they're like, how much do I have to pay you today for the consultation? Yeah. I'm like, it's free. And some people are like, what do you mean? All this information was free? Yes, it was free.
That means you're giving something of value if they're asking if they owe you.
Yes.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. I really like that here we're able to partner with some credit repair companies.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some people take advantage, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's really sad because you see these people paying $3,000, $4,000 for something that it's not that bad,
No,
right?
yeah. Or
Really
they just get
nice.
them on the monthly retainer that they get, and there's no benefit for them handing the client back to you because they want the monthly retainer every month. So it's one of those things where, yes, bad things happen to good people.
Mm-hmm.
And if the client is willing to work with a credit vendor to get their credit fixed, absolutely 100% you can have a great outcome. There's times when, the client has to invest the time. There's only so much we can do. But if you find a client that's willing to invest the time and do the work, and you can have a great outcome and completely transform an outcome from something that was denied to something that was, so it's great. So on the event, I want to touch on that real quick. So like, do you see yourself doing more events as you move forward now that,
100%.
Yeah. Do you kind of see like how it gives you like, we're always so used to doing presentations. That's like what we would consider an event before. Like
Yes.
now you're doing a yoga event where you don't really have to talk about, product and, you'll have some stuff there, but it's a way to develop the relationship and have those people see you in a different light. You see them in a different light, have a conversation with them that has nothing to do with real estate, and just to be there for them and have this experience. And I can just tell you, like, coming here and doing events, and I had a hard time with it in the beginning. That's why you're going to be 90 days in and you're going to be doing this like huge event at corporate. Yes. And, you're going to have, yoga and all this stuff. Like, I love that you just dove head. I mean, it kind of like is in line with everything that you already do, because most people, their first time here are not jumping in to do an event like you're going to be doing. So I give you a ton of credit. I'm excited. I think I'm even stopping by afterwards. Is that right? I'm not doing yoga. I'm not doing yoga, but I will stop by afterwards.
I think I would like to add, in this country, I noticed that life goes so fast.
Yeah.
Compare it with my country or other countries. I feel like it's more slow. You can find time to do more stuff. But I feel like in here, you're always like on the go. Yeah. Always. And not even in this business. I feel like even if you are in a warehouse, they're always thinking, extra time. I can do overtime. And, and I feel like with the yoga and the meditation, it gives you a time to like breathe, Life, you only live once, right?
Listen, I'll tell you, I started doing meditation twice a day, okay? Jodie will tell you. She even asked me one time, she's like, Eric, she's like, what have you been doing? Because she noticed how different,
Wow, okay.
Now, if you talk to anybody now, they would tell you they don't notice anything. But if you knew me back then, I was a little bit more passionate than I am today. I think meditation, I do it first thing in the morning, and I do it when I come home at night, when I'm all like hopped up after a long day. Jen knows I come in, I'll say hi, and then I put my stuff in my office, and I go up on my bed, and I just do a quick like 5 minutes. And it's like my way of like separating work from home, and just kind of like, and then I come down and I'm fine. Like I've left that behind me. And so for me, meditation has been like a game changer for me. Like anybody who hasn't done it, and I remember like I was doing it for a while, and I was like, I just don't get it. But I remember the first time like where I was like, oh wow, I think I just meditated, like, because I felt like it took me a bit to understand, because my mind is always like going, and it was hard for me to just let go. But then I found an app that I like, and I started using that, and so anything with meditation, I'm a huge fan, and I think it's probably one of the more beneficial things that everyone should try.
Yes. I think like some people think this is only for girls, right?
Oh, no.
Like yoga, no. I did have a couple friends that were like, because I like to invite everybody.
Yeah,
even before real estate, I used to do a lot of, not events, but like I will invite like 5 people. They didn't even know each other. Right?
Yeah.
I will rent a boat and I invite like random people.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, like we're friends now because now we know each other. So I will invite like friends to yoga with me, and they'll be like, "Well, this is a girl thing."
So where does that come from? Like, are your parents like that? Is your brother and sister like that? Like, where does that come from?
My mom.
Your mom?
My mom.
Okay. Yeah.
My mom is really social. I think my mom is really strong. My family has a lot of women, and they are really strong. My grandma, I remember she had a lot of properties in Colombia.
Okay.
Even when she passed away, we have to sell it for her, and it was like a couple things she left behind. And I always had that in my mind, like, property is really important,
Yeah.
It's an income,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Passive income right there. But my mom is really social.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
my dad also.
so that's where is your dad social?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Both
Okay.
of them.
So they're social. We're going to get them here to the office. Okay. So we're going to get that scheduled today. Do you still have a lot of family in Colombia?
I do. I have a lot of cousins and aunts. I do have a couple family in here too. So I'm not by myself.
Yeah.
I want to say like my first 6 months, they were kind of hard.
Yeah. Because how old were you when you came here?
I was 18.
Okay. So you're out of high school then?
So in Colombia, you finish high school when you're 15.
Okay. Okay.
So I was, yeah.
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 Well, why couldn't I finish high school at 15? Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to do with my life when I finished high school because I was so young, 15.
Yeah.
So my mom let me decide for like a year. I was kind of working and figuring things out. And she was like, yeah, I don't think you're ready yet to go to college. So she sent me to California to a boarding school.
Wow.
It was a really nice experience. My roommate was from China. So I didn't speak any English.
Wow,
she didn't
what an
speak
experience.
Spanish.
So what was that like? I mean, that's like such an amazing experience to, at that age, to be able to, you're new to the country. Now you're in California. We're in California.
It was between San Jose and San Francisco.
Okay, so that's a nice area.
Yeah, it was a really nice area.
Yeah, so you're there. You're with someone from China who. So how did you guys communicate?
It was like this. Let's go to eat. Let's go to sleep. It was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever reconnected with that person?
Yeah, we do have each other in social media.
Okay.
But their culture is so different from our culture. They're really like close to each other.
Yeah.
So we're friends.
Yeah.
We do still talk, but not like before.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. I mean, so that's such a. I mean, I don't think people, me included, like have any idea. Like, my whole life I've. Obviously been in the country. I didn't come here at 18. I didn't go to a boarding school. Like those experiences are just something that I just, you can tell me and I can try to imagine what it would be like. But I think it is a lot of who you are today. And I think that, hearing you, the more I talk to you, the more like you tell me stuff that it all starts kind of like piecing together where I'm starting to figure out Sophia a little bit and like where your drive is from and why you're, successful and why you're, so driven, like all these things, start to make sense. So it's been nice to get to know you. And I just want to say like more than anything, like it's been a pleasure. You're so great to the staff. You ask such great questions. You're very respectful of people's time. Like you've seen our process. You immediately don't ask, why do I got to do this? You just are doing it. And I think, that says a lot about who you are. And it's, one of the reasons why I'd love to meet your parents because, I think it says a lot about how you grew up. And, I just want to say thank you because it's been a pleasure to have you come on board. And who would have thought that, we are competing in an account and now we're helping each other in an account and we're doing a podcast. So it's funny how life works out. And, this is what our business is supposed to be about. And we're supposed to be connecting and helping each other because the business, you just never know how the business is going to play out. And the more we can help each other, the better.
Yes. One thing I remember you told me, it was we make the business harder than it needs to be. And I remember when I went home after a meeting, that was in my mind like crazy because I was like, that is so true.
Yeah.
And not just the business life in general. It's not a big deal. I have a realtor and he overthinks a lot. And I know he's going to listen to this podcast and he's going to know who I'm talking about. And I always tell him, like, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that can happen? And I also tell this to my, clients, right?
Yeah.
Because we overthink a lot. And I'm really happy to be able to, to be in this team because it helps me to not overthink.
Yeah.
Right? It helps me to trust.
I don't want you to think. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I just want you to go out and help more people and have an impact on families and let everyone else in the team take care of everything else. That's the whole idea of what I've built. Even for Guaranteed Rate, we have a very unique branch. Like we've built this a very specific way with Juliet and the team and getting the right people in the right seats. And, you would have came on to the team 2 years ago, it would have been a different experience. Like we're in a position now where we're like, we're ready to grow. We're ready to bring people on. We want people to think bigger. We want people not to think. We want them to go out and get business and do things. I'm excited, and I hope, a year from now or 2 years from now, we look back and you're going to have this amazing story. And as I always say, you got to think bigger. So I want you to keep thinking big. I love, I can tell when you come into my office because you got a grin on your face and you're always like, I can tell your mind's thinking. And that's when I know things are going good. Because if you have the time to think about those things and you're thinking about building your business instead of working in your business, then my job is, I'm winning in my portion, because the fact that you're able to, schedule the yoga and your mind's thinking about business ideas and all these things you want to do, that means the business, we're not talking about, well, what happened with this file? Why didn't this get done? Why, you're focused on your business, and that's 100% of what we want. And, I just can't wait to see you a year from now, 2 years from now. And it's going to be a great story, and I'm excited for you. And, I know everyone on the team has said to me privately or to you, directly, like, Sophia's going to be a force to be reckoned with here in the near future. So we're excited. And, just enjoy the ride. And remember, as I said before, and I'll say it again, the business is not as hard as we want to think it. So just don't think about it that much. Trust the process, and the rest will kind of figure itself out.
Yes. I will say, like, another thing is I don't like to think so much about my leads, or I do, but my point is I like to do good to receive good. So for example, the yoga, right? I was telling my friend, like, come and do yoga, it's free. And she was just telling me, I'm going to send you leads. So I never ask, hey, can you send me some referrals? Do you know anyone who's looking? She just, hey, the way that I can pay you is with leads. I'm like, perfect. That's exactly the perfect way to pay me.
I think the idea is an event is great and it's fun, but you're providing a value and an experience to the people that do business with you. And I think when I say the business isn't as hard as we make it to be, kind of the thought process is sometimes we get so wrapped up in things in the business that don't produce business. You're just maintaining it, okay? And you're just trying to hold it together. And when we spoke the first time, that was a lot of where you were. Is you were just trying to make sure everyone on the outside didn't know what was going on the inside.
Yes.
And that is a horrible position to be. But when you're proud of what's going on the inside, then you can go tell your story and give an experience to all those people that is yoga or, a pizza maker. I mean, we have people that do all these crazy things, 4th of July parties. I did a concert in the park. I did all these things. I would never have done that. I'm not a party planner. I'm not, Juliet keeps wanting me to do goat yoga. Like, she has all these, like, that's the joy of when you can enjoy what you do and have the ability to provide this experience, and you're building a brand. So when you have someone that comes to this yoga event and they have professional yoga instructors and you have this great experience and food and they walk away from there, you're building you're building a brand. Everyone talks, brand is something that people throw around all the time. But like, to me, like, what it feels like to work with Sophia and what that looks like from the outside is what people are going to be attracted to. And you're starting to be able to work on that, where I feel like before you were never able to do that. And that's where I'm excited to kind of see where this goes and what you're able to do. And I think you're going to be shocked. I said it before, it's much harder to go from 0 to 30 million than it will be from 30 to 100. Because once you figure out how to get to 30, it's really just scaling the business from there. Yeah. It's not, that's why I always say it's not that hard. I mean, what did I say to you? I was on the call the other day with everyone, is like, you need 200 prospects, okay, of realtors that you want to, call on or in your market, and you need 20 of them to send you one deal a month. That's it.
That's it.
And you're going to do 20 deals a month. Like, and most people don't realize how life-changing it would be to do 20 deals a month. But if you think about it, I just need 200 prospects to do 20 deals a month, and I'm going to do everything I can to get these 200 people to know who Sophia is and that I'm in the market and that I'm available. And at some point, you're going to get an opportunity with half of those or 25% of them. You need 25% to send you,
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible when you think about it that way. So that's what I mean. Don't make it harder than it is. Focus on that and
don't overthink.
Don't think at all. I always say, like, and that's where you got to trust the process. Like if you have a process, and that's why everything that we do has a process, that means you don't have to think about it. And if you just follow the process, then you can focus on your business and the rest will be easy.
Yes. And it's been really easy. It's been really nice to be able to trust, the process and be like, I know you're going to take care of my client because it's my baby, but you make me feel like it's your baby too, You want to close this too.
And what has your experience been with like Juliet and Jodie and everyone? I know you had some time to sit down with them. Does it make more sense now?
Yes.
Kind of like what their role is and what they do and how it leads to helping you build your business and providing that experience, even when you're not. The funny thing is that I used to think that I needed to do all those things. And then when they started to do it, and then the clients were having a better experience and I was not involved, there's a small part of me that was like, well, don't you need me? I took it a little personally, but it was, when you get to that point and you can lean on them a little bit and trust them a little bit and the client has a better experience, that's when it's a win-win for all of us. Yeah.
I feel like for me, it was when I was talking with Juliet and she told me, oh, I want to go to your yoga event and I'm going to help you. I'm going to talk to the realtors because I want to make you look good.
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
Yeah.
She's definitely not a 9-to-5 person.
No.
She doesn't really, she gets salary, I'm sure, but she doesn't really care, She makes me feel like I want you to get more business.
She's at an event today for one of our loan officers, like a networking event. Nice. And again, she's working the room for him.
And she's great.
Yeah.
She's great.
That's what she does. And when she says she wants to make you look good, like that's, and when me and Juliet met, like that was kind of how our relationship was built. And, this is the thing I will say, like Juliet and I, our beginning of our relationship, there was a lot of conflict because she had a strong head of what she wanted to do. I had a strong, but that conflict was one of the best things that ever happened because it led to where we are today. I always say that to people because I think it's important not to shy away from conflict. Like when you're passionate about something and someone else is passionate about something, whether it be a realtor or whatever, some of the best relationships I have in this business came out of conflict.
Wow.
But you have to look at it as an opportunity. And like that's the hardest thing because sometimes we run away from conflict and we're like, oh, that person's not for us. But on the other side of that conflict sometimes is some of the best opportunity because once you get through that, it kind of breaks down all the walls. And me and Juliet had these like conversations. And one of the things that came out of that is kind of like, this is what Juliet likes to do. She likes to network. She likes to, and she wants to be out of the office. She wants to be doing that. And for me, I wanted her in the office, like, doing things. But once we kind of figured that out, like it really was a way for us to kind of take the branch and our team to the next level. So, I'm glad to hear that, you already realized that right away because she will be someone that you will, like when you see her do her thing. I have this thing where I say to Juliet, like, I'll be like, hey, can you call the listing agent? They're upset and just do your thing. And she knows exactly what that means. Like she has a way to kind of reel people in and kind of, again, take a conflict and turn it into an opportunity. So I'm looking forward to having her at your event and seeing what comes out of that. It's going to be good for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, again, I just want to say thank you. We'll definitely do this again. I know you were a little nervous to sit down, but it wasn't that bad, right?
No,
it wasn't that bad. So we'll do it again. I'm excited for you, obviously, to be here and, we don't bring anyone on, I think I told you this before, like we're very selective of the people that we bring in here because we've built a particular team and a culture that we can't just insert anybody in, but you've been such a great fit for our branch. And it's energized me, the feedback from everyone. So I just want to say thank you because it means a lot.
Thank you.
And again, I'm excited to see where this goes down the line.
So what was your expectations?
As far as like for you?
Yes.
Well, for me, so I always look at quality of life. Okay. So for me, I think it's less about production and more about quality of life.
Okay.
And I don't think when you do a lot of business, you can do a lot of business and be miserable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I always say like I did more business than I've ever done during COVID, but I had one of the best quality of life during that time.
Wow.
And, I think the one year we did close to 550 transactions, and I probably had the best quality of life because of the team that we had and the processes that we've had in place. So for me, when I have expectations of a loan officer, it is, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable getting uncomfortable. I always tell the story, like, I was never good at speaking in front of, I was a horrible student. I didn't go to college, okay? I don't have a college degree. Struggled, through high school, barely got through high school. I just had this drive where I was going to be successful at something. And, I had a lot of things I failed at, before I got to the mortgage business. To be able to go to bed at night and not have to worry about, financial things. And, that's what I consider quality of life. And I think, what I always love to help other loan officers do is create the quality of life, or even my team is to create a quality of life where they can, it's not about money. Money's great, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of money that are not happy, So there's a lot of loan officers that and realtors that make a great living that are miserable. So for me, my expectation's always like to create a good quality of life, so you can kind of enjoy life. You can, travel.
I love traveling.
So just imagine this. So this will be the one thing is like, I spend a month of the year in Florida. My business still runs. Like, you want to be able to go on vacation and not feel like, have you ever had those vacations where you're on the phone? Like, it's like one of the worst. Yeah. So it's horrible.
My God.
So we'll do one of these after your next vacation.
Okay.
I want you to experience what it's like when you go on the vacation next with the team and not have to come back or experience kind of the chaos while you're gone.
I think I went on vacation to Colorado.
Yeah.
And I had a closing on that day. It was a refi. And I remember they called me because something went wrong. And I remember calling you, freaking out. I was about to cry. And you're like, relax.
Yeah. It's like, we'll avoid all that stuff. So, one of the things is like, you want to be able to, have this like drive, and drive is great. Okay. But you want to think bigger. As I always say that's my theme this year is thinking bigger, because we have these beliefs where, we think, oh, I just want to do this. One thing Tom said to me, and I give him shit for it all the time, is he's like, I just want to be comfortable. And I hate that. Like, comfortable is not quality. Like, to me, like, comfortable is just getting by,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that, hey, if I pay my bills at the end of the month and like everything's good, like, I'm comfortable. And for me, I think that's like a limiting belief, and you're leaving a lot of stuff on the table. Like, what we do isn't for everyone. So for me, this is a very long answer to your question, but obviously you can tell I'm passionate about it. You just have to be very uncomfortable. This was uncomfortable for you, okay? But it's going to work out. You're going to walk out of here just fine. And you want to run towards things that make you uncomfortable.
I want to tell you a little story. We did have a couple weeks ago. We had a branch meeting. I think it was in a restaurant in Naperville.
Yeah.
And I invited my brother.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of nervous. And he told me, I don't know how you do this, Sophia. Like, I'm so nervous when I talk to people. Do I share my stuff? I was like, it's like, networking. It's good for you.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to meet, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, how do you do this? You don't get nervous? I'm like, of course. I get nervous. It's uncomfortable. You don't know anyone. You don't know.
Well, he won $100. So hopefully he should have a good time.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But my point was like, not everybody have the personality or what it takes to be, a loan officer. Yeah. And it's okay. I feel like we need loan officers. We also need teachers.
Yeah.
We also need people to work on other stuff, right? So it's okay not to have a personality.
But I mean, sometimes people get in this business, they do things that make them comfortable. Like, well, I don't want to do that because that's not going to, and they're just limited in what they can do. And I think, my expectation or what I would love to see you do is just anything that makes you uncomfortable, like, run towards it. And I promise you, in a year from now, you will look back. Like, and I've told this story a couple times, but like when I was in 6th grade, I had a real bad stutter. Like I had to see a speech therapist all the time. So me speaking in front of people, like in high school, like I would freeze up. And now I speak in front of people all the time. And it's like, so you have to like challenge yourself to do these things that make you uncomfortable and do things like, I didn't want to go to open houses. I would go to, 20 open houses a week, and I started doing like anything that made me uncomfortable. That's what I did.
So there's another story. I have a realtor.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I have a lead for you. It's he's a good one, but he already fired 3 realtors.
Yeah.
He fired 2 lenders. Do you want to work with him?
Yeah.
And I was like already uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what if he asked me something and I don't know the answer? What if something happens, right? Start working the lead. We closed it. He was doing an open house in another property that he owned. And I stopped by to say hello and stuff like that. He invited his son to introduce me. It's like she's single, he's single. And I'm like, wow, like I did not expect you to like me that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but it was really uncomfortable, right? The beginning, but it was worth it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the thing is like, hopefully we'll create the environment where you can just go and focus on your business and not worry about anything. And like I said, I'm super excited to see where this goes for you. Hearing your story and, your family, you have so much support and so much to be proud of to be where you are today. Just have fun with it. Trust the process, and we'll see where we're at here shortly.
I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
We'll do this again maybe in a year.
Okay.
And we'll see where you're at.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.